Morning, y'all.
Good morning. What's up, party people?
What the guys are silent?
Good morning.
Well, let's take advantage, Jackie. Let's roll with it.
Oh wow! Nobody was hearing me. Nobody was hearing me.
No.
Oh my goodness! I was just saying good morning to everybody. What's up, world? Welcome to the RemiX Morning Show right here on Black Power Media. Your boom bap breakfast. We are fully squatted up this morning. Good to see all these beautiful people. And real quick, it's funny because shout out to DJ B Love. I had to, as a moderator in the chat, approve a message, and all it said was "top of the morning, African people," and somehow YouTube thought that needed to be moderated.
You know, African is a cuss word.
You know what I'm saying? So good morning, top of the morning, African people. Get the cussing right out the way.
Yes. How's everybody doing?
Doing well. Doing
as
well.
Good as could be expected.
Right.
Good to see you push the kids out at the car. You got here on time.
I'm getting to think hours homeschooling them kids now, aren't you?
No way, no. As soon as I had any evidence that I could get them out the door, it was like, what? School's open again? Not really? Can I come and repaint, do whatever y'all need? I'll separate desks 12 feet apart, which I need. Can my kids learn from the parking lot? Whatever we take. Let's get them out the house at this stage.
Well, as for me, Kalanji talked trash about my polka dots the other day. So in the true spirit of the remix, I came back with some more. You know what I mean? That's how we do. You talk trash, we come back.
I think his name is Kwame. That's cool.
Hey, rest in peace to Biggie, but you know, bump him too. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's played out over here.
Hey,
bring Kwame back. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, yo, cats out of this.
It's time to play it out like Kwame and the fucking polka dots. Who rocks the top? Biggie.
Yo,
we go.
I ain't even going
unbelievable. How that sound, Kalanji?
Hey, yo, listen. I ain't even going front. I was in South Carolina when that joint dropped, and I did have a Kwame suit, and I prayed. I had a red jersey with black polka dots.
You had to put it away,
just quickly slid that joint off.
Hey.
Like, oh
no, that was before. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't rocking it when he dissed Homeboy. It was already late. But I did have the fresh Reebok Classics. I had to go put the Reebok Classics up. I'm like, hold on. Biggie was shutting it all the way down. So, you know, shout out to Biggie. You know what I mean? And
shout out to our one hater, too.
Oh, no. At least
back
they
in the building.
Thanks for hating. Hey.
Yeah, maybe the other haters called out sick because you know.
Hey, man.
Usually they come as a team.
Well, we want everybody to invite all of their friends, family, foes, colleagues, comrades. Retweet, share, invite them to join us this morning. And hit the like button or don't. Or hit the other one if you feel that way. We'll earn it. You know what I'm saying? We'll get you back by the end of the show.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. And we see that we like that we have to. We see we are asked to earn at least one like a day.
That's all we ask, baby. That's all we ask.
Sometimes
definitely shout out to May holding things down in the back. Ear doctor. Waiting in the wings, maybe even looks like literally, and everybody who's helping make this thing happen. All the rest of the crew who's not on hand this morning, who will be here back next week, and So what else is going on? Yeah, go ahead, man. Yeah,
I was gonna say shout out to the remixers out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
See you on the chat room.
That's
on
right.
The regular.
Morning, y'all.
You know what I mean? Thank y'all for motivating us and the critique as well. You know what I mean? Because of the fact that we have our little meetings and we get together, we say, man, you know, well, the remixer says such and such. And then somebody says, yeah, okay, F them. Okay, next to the next page. No, but on the real, we accept the criticism, we accept the love and everything. It's real dope. Y'all keep us motivated. So, you know, the remixers, that's the chat room squad for those of you who are new to the program on the remix.
Who agreed to this remixers tag?
Hey,
I'm not sure.
Nobody.
Remixers?
Kalanji.
I think Jared and I we got here on time one day. And the rest of y'all you all miss the pre-production meetings every day. So you know, try being on time. Man.
Got hot.
Yeah, it's all good.
All this
I like how I got dragged into And I like how I got dragged into Kalanji's solo venture here too.
Thank you, Jared. I tried to put you down, man. It's all good. Hey,
we only got one Luke Mon.
Yes, we only have one Luke Mon. Mr. Luke Mon is taking a little bit of a rest break. I wore him out.
Wrong, Jackie. Yes, girl. Lay him out. Put him to sleep. Make him stay in bed, girl. Just do what you need to have to do.
Y'all gotta warn me. When I'm drinking my tea, you gotta warn me before you just.
So Jackie's basically laying. Basically, she's laying down the gauntlet for all of the rest of our partners, right? The fact that we made it here means that not enough is being done. Is that what that's supposed to be? We're supposed to get to the point where only one person can drag themselves to the screen.
You're putting words in my mouth. I did not. But you know what? That is a good standard to live by.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching the Remix Morning Show, and it's definitely rated R, and it's not for Remix. You know what I'm saying? It's for the Luke Mons.
That's
you gotta understand. He's my best friend, and we fool around and goof off like this all the time. We make everybody uncomfortable. We make our family uncomfortable. They're just like, Jesus, y'all, would you stop? Just get a room.
I appreciate that, actually. I respect that very much. We need some relationship advice from the Luke Mons. If you're gonna get any cis hetero relationship advice, let it come from the Luke Mons.
As long as we waited to get married, I'm like, look, I'm getting it all in now. I
feel like I'm on that movie with John Witherspoon and the sister, the woman who went inside the bathroom and whatnot, and it came out of my man's bathroom. I feel like I'm a
boomerang. You gotta coordinate. That's why I got my polka dots on.
You do look like a light-skinned John Witherspoon.
Oh shit!
You know what I'm saying?
Jared Witherspoon. Oh, good. You look good, brother.
It is bleeding into the background for some reason. It's like, you know what? I can't even see your body.
That's what I was going to say. I felt like I was on Spike Lee's. You talk about you in the Witherspoon scene. I'm on Spike Lee's truck.
With a camera trolley.
Always the worst part of every movie, every Spike Lee movie, is when you, with anticipation, you know he's going to do that scene where he's rolling the camera and everything's rolling by. He did that in the Malcolm X movie. I almost threw my hands up and walked out the theater. It's like, now this tops all the bad stuff. It was right in the middle of the death scene too. It's like it's the death scene.
Yeah, on his way to getting assassinated.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody's all emotional in the audience. It broke the tension. People started giggling
because it reminds you're in a Spike Lee joint.
Exactly.
All the time. Anyway,
it wasn't enough. He had to be shorty in the movie. He got to drag you out of the drum. Anyway, I know we about to get to the ear doctor, but we do have some stuff coming up. I know we like to wake everybody up and greet everybody with a little levity and a little Luke Mon Nation after dark in the morning. But we do have some stuff we want to get to a little bit this morning. I know I'm going to talk a little bit about this J. Cole freestyle reference to Bill Cosby. What else is coming up?
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the hypocrisy of the U.S. State Department and the way they characterize this fake genocide against Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang while not saying anything about the ethnic cleansing and the genocide against Palestinians in Israel.
Okay.
And then later on in my segment, we're going to talk about mental health issues amongst organizers and activists in particular, and then holistic ways to deal with it. So that's going to be an interesting conversation.
We're also going to talk about a young brother out in Florida, I believe, who got into it with an old white man who decided to call him a racial slur. The young man hit him, and the old decrepit cracker, I like to say that, he actually fell, bumped his head, and 2 days later he died. So my man is being charged with homicide. So we also, most importantly, we're going to be talking about today being the anniversary of the commemoration, rather, because it's not an anniversary, it's not a celebration of the move bombing in Philly, but also today is the acquittal of the Black Panther 21, New York 21. So we got a heavy show today.
Right on. Hey, so you saying my Tim Tebow story the other day wasn't definitive enough that this is a racist country? We got more to get into. I'm a little surprised by that. I
know,
thought we
man.
wrapped this up. I thought we were good. I thought we was now post-racial.
Hey, man. Tim Tebow, Tim Scott, it's all good.
Tebow, Tim Scott. Solange, it's funny that you referenced that story because that was actually the same story that I wanted to bring up too, and to sort of get into a little bit deeper about the consequences and repercussions of being called a nigger and when you respond to being called a nigger. So I found that story really interesting as well. And I'm sorry that the young man is now facing charges behind that. But I think it leads to a more interesting conversation about how do you respond to racism in the moment? If you get physical and knock out one of these old racists, well, and if they die, if he dies, he dies.
Hey,
I don't know.
we all got
Guys,
to go.
guys.
Hey, well, check this out.
Yeah, go ahead, Kalani.
No, I was just going to say that Kim Brown will be doing that story with me. She just drafted herself. So
good.
So yeah,
it'll be laden with profanity. It should be glorious.
Hey, lovely. Burn, baby, burn.
Watch out now. Again, welcome to our nearly 100 live viewers this morning. We appreciate you.
Right.
Good morning to the Remix here at the Black Power Media channel.
In the first 14 minutes,
let's go.
Right on. And Kim, to your point, I still have my 10th grade memory of the one time I let somebody get away with calling me to my face that word. And I've never lived it to this day. I regret on some level that I didn't respond. But to your point, you never know. You never know.
Well, I think this could actually be a good opportunity when we get to the story. I mean, I know all of us here have a story about being called a nigger by a white person. So share with us your stories about when a whitey called you a nigger and how you tried your best not to kill that motherfucker.
Yeah. And speaking of afterlife's, ear doctor is in the clouds, my man. What's going? He looks like.
Oh, wait a minute. He's got the official team. I remember when I got called nigga when I moved down south by another black person. He was like, "Yo, my nigga." I was like, "What?
What?"
Yeah, I mean, but that was the slang. We wasn't used to hearing it like that up in Trenton. So, but
really,
yeah. But I get to the weather right now to give y'all a little something. Unless it was from the Italians.
Oh wow!
Oh no! Terrible.
Remix.
What's good, people? What's good, people? I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. This is the Remix Morning Show. And at this time, we like to give y'all the weather across the country, across the world. And we are going to start this morning in no other than Bmore, Maryland. That's Baltimore, Maryland, where they say to and do. So big up to Baltimore, Maryland. The high for Baltimore is going to be 70 degrees. Now, let's take it to Lincoln, Nebraska. Lincoln, Nebraska is going to be a high of also 70 degrees. And then let's take it over to Honolulu, Hawaii. Hawaii is going to have a high of 81 degrees. Now, after we take it to Hawaii, let's take it all the way across the world to Jubal, Saudi Arabia, where they're going to have a high of 113 degrees. It's going to be hot as a mug out there, boy, I tell you. Yo, 113 degrees. Now, let's take it to where it is colder than the white man. And I'm not talking about just your regular white man. I'm talking about Leopold II, who was established the Congo Free State by brutality, seizing the African land masses in for his personal possession. Rather than control the Congo as a colony, this dude just took over the whole spot and then got his soldiers to cut off the hands of all their victims. As you can see, the Africans in the back over in the Congo. Now, that's a cold white man right there. Yo, but where is that place that I'm talking about? I'm talking about Station Nord, Greenland, where the high today is going to be 0. That's right, 0 degrees. So that's your weather today, right here on the Remix Morning Show. Now let's take it over back to the morning crew. You know how we do.
Yeah. Remix Morning Show. Black Power Media back at you.
Yo.
Fresh off the weather report. Appreciate you.
No doubt. King Leopold was a beast, man.
Quite literally.
A beast like the devil.
Yeah. The worst. Worse
Where
than
you get
Hitler.
the BPM shirt from, son?
Oh, you know, we got them coming. They should be here in a week and a half or two.
Why yours was early then?
Well, you know, that's how I do. I got to get my straight off the custom made press, baby. But they coming. Yeah, I'll chat y'all later on the next break.
Peace. And you know what we didn't do?
On.
What we realizing from our wonderful producer is we didn't even introduce ourselves. We hop up on here like everybody already know who we are. Like there are no new viewers, and like if you don't know who we are, then the hell with you. So I don't know. Should we introduce ourselves or how we gonna do this thing?
I think that's a good idea.
Huh?
Let's go clockwise, starting from the top. Kalonji to Jackie to Kamal and et cetera, et cetera.
See, I thought you already introduced us. Anyway, I am, as Kim just told y'all, Kalonji Chong, and I'm in the building. Remix.
I'm Jackie Lukeman here in Southeast DC.
I'm Kamal K. Franklin here in Atlanta, Georgia. That's my morning show.
It's a morning anchor voice.
Yeah.
I'm Kim Brown. I'm the host of Burn It Down with Kim Brown. I am in Prince George's County, Maryland, where it is beautiful today.
And my name is Jared Ball, and I am in Howard County, Maryland. Right up the road, just
up the road
in there, squeezed in between Baltimore and DC, somewhat right in the little middle there.
Yes.
Where right down the road from Charm City. Shout out to Ear Doctor for a reference to the city in which I work whenever we are allowed back on campus. Big ups to Morgan State University. Who loves me as much as I love them.
What do I
it's a love affair. Anyway.
Amen. So the Beige remix. Go ahead. I'm sorry,
Beijing, man. I'm trying to tell everybody. So we're gonna get to the news. Let's go ahead and get to the news and see what's going on in Black Power Media Remix morning show. Global views. Look, let's see that glow. Yes, indeed. Back with Remix Morning Show, Black Power Media. About to get into some news items here.
Shit. Sorry.
I was going to say.
Particularly angry about something in the dog world that he really wants you to explain.
It's like, Kim, burn it down.
It's like there's a story I want you to cover. What's going on with that?
Yeah. Alpo has some
up 45%. Capitalism.
Right on. Well, I'll go ahead and start with the this little more or less lighter fare, relatively speaking, and some puns intended for that matter. In fact, let me do that again. Let me do that again because I need to share it, of course, properly. And I'm getting a little bit of an echo. Anybody? I don't know if that's okay. That's
just you.
That's
just me. All right, good.
Yeah, I hear that.
All right, so let's So let's check this out. This is this freestyle dropped the other day from J. Cole, and that has seemed to spark a slight bit of controversy. And I thought we would start. Just check this out a little bit.
Woke up this morning and wanna hate shit. I get fresh as shit. I keep it humble. My closet like Dover Street used to be bumming. Some days I'm still bumming. The difference is now it's by choice. Got just a peek out the window. These little niggas different. They don't play Nintendo. They play with extendos. I hope you can limbo. That chopper go spin you around like a judge on a voice. I'm from a city where most niggas never get lucky enough to see something outside county limits. I ran up the ditches. I don't have no motherfucking business. Complain about nothing. Ain't got no time and no patience for lists they be making. Or who they debating is better. Let's face it. He one of the greatest. No Bill Cosby shit. But if niggas is sleeping, then fuck her. Most niggas don't understand me. I don't do the Grammys. I be in my Jimmy's on sofa. Most niggas don't understand me. Ferrari or Camry, I bet I look good in them both. Most niggas don't even get this. How you on top, but you don't got no bitches, I know. Most niggas don't even get this. To giving a chance, they trade family for riches, I know. Look at my ceiling, it's endless. I'm sick of these bitch niggas feeling the sentence. It ain't in the vitamin C and they system to get rid of me. I'm a killer, relentless. On top of it, I sound like I'm still in the trenches. I come from the villa, I turn villains to victims. Reach to see RIP filler. Yo, mentions a message for niggas that's feeling ambitious. How come a nigga still ain't to the prime? You bitch.
All right, so
Still tipping on fofos. That's my shit. Sorry.
So for me at least, I will start by just quickly saying I think the flow is nice. I think there are a number of things that if we wanted to both praise or criticize that we could probably focus on in those lyrics. But the line, if niggas is sleeping, fuck them, reference to Bill Cosby, has sparked a little bit of a controversy, not the least of which between Dr. Umar Johnson and Mark Lamont Hill, who debated whether or not Bill Cosby was being in a somewhat of a conspiratorial sense sacrificed and as Dr. Johnson said, lynched when there are so many other white men who continue to do so much worse and get away with it.
Out of here. I'm sorry. I'm my bad. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Jared. That shit. Every time I hear that shit, it really makes me mad. Like, I'm sorry. Black men should be allowed to rape like white men. Is that what the fuck you mean, Umar Johnson? Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
So now,
don't.
admittedly, for me, that and this is where I've even said to some privately off the record, I'm willing to accept some criticism on my patriarchy because if necessary, at least if this is a blind spot, because for me, I have been arguing Bill Cosby should have been condemned and dismissed long before this most recent controversy. So I just want to keep coming back to this. And I mentioned it the other day, but I just wanted to quickly come back and show folks a little bit more about what I was talking about in reference to what George Jackson had said in Soledad Brother back, almost 50 years ago. And specifically in the context, as he says here, black capitalism, black against itself. The silliest contradiction in a long train of spineless, mindless contradictions. Another painless ultimate remedy. Be a better fascist than the fascist. Bill Cosby acting out the establishment agent. What message was this soul brother conveying to our children? I Spy was certainly programmed to a child's mentality. This running dog in the company of the fascists were the cause of flunkies flunky. Anyway, so transmitting to the slave. I mean, this line there that I just scrolled past, but there's that essentially is the part I wanted to show. That according to Jackson, and I agree, that while Bill Cosby at the time was saying, I'm just an actor and a comedian, I'm not involved in civil rights, he was portraying the FBI in a positive way while the FBI was crushing the black liberation struggle. And I thought, and then he comes back several decades later to condemn black people for being poor and self-referencing with the N-word and all this other kind of stuff, and goes on this whole tour with Alvin Poussaint, with the Harvard attached moniker and all of that, and say writing books like Come On People and all this other stuff, while black people continue to devolve materially, spiritually, economic, and so on and so on and so on. And then, so for this to be what got him dragged down, so in an inappropriate comparison, I've also thought this was like when Al Capone got locked up for tax evasion. You know what I'm saying? It's like you do all this murder, all this crime, all this other stuff, but it's the taxes that get you locked up. And so anyway, And that part of the controversy, I thought, has been lost in the discussion between what I thought is the popular representation of our range of debate as characterized between Umar Johnson and Mark Lamont Hill, which I think is somewhat important, but not a wide enough range. And that's why I wanted to bring George Jackson back in on that to this discussion of J. Cole and the lyrics. But anyway, that was my piece on that. What do you all think about that?
George
I
Jackson.
feel like. Oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kalanji.
Hey, Luke Mons first.
Well, I mean, I feel like, of course, Umar Johnson is going to take the shitting on black folks tack because that's what he does. He was mad that black people wouldn't give him our grit money to build his fictitious school. So of course he's going to take this tack that which is very classist. Umar Johnson he has a class problem among black folks, just like Bill Cosby did. Mm. So, I get that people might not have understood the implications of the propaganda in I Spy, because I watched it when I was a kid and I didn't get that, how the messages that it was sending. But when Cosby came out with that tour and talking about, the pound cake bullshit, I knew then that there was something deeply wrong with that because I grew up poor. And I understood, even if I didn't understand capitalism, I understood that our problem was not that we were morally degenerate. Our problem was that we were fucking poor and that we were living in a society that was full of riches that somehow the hardest working people I knew in my life didn't get, no matter how hard they worked. And this was something that Cosby, a black man, never, ever pointed to. Neither did Alvin Toussaint. So for Umar Johnson to come along and say, well, Cosby is being unfairly dragged down and, other white men have done all these other things, that's irrelevant. What other white men have done is irrelevant when we're talking about what black people do to not only thwart the progress of black people toward consciousness of our situation, but also to crap on black people because we're in this situation and make money doing it. So, I mean, I'm so tired of the defense of Bill Cosby. I understand that the criminal justice system is racist and all that, but he did that shit. He did it, and it is.
But even if you take that he did it, is then the J. Cole reference to him having done it inappropriate?
Well, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
If you accept that Bill Cosby did do it, is J. Cole's reference or use of that as a lyrical device, which I thought was done very well, is that inappropriate?
No, I don't think. I mean, when is the truth? When is telling the truth ever inappropriate? I just don't get that. He did that shit. He did that. He's a classist, bougie, poor black folk hating, quaalude, dropping, woman raping, dirty old man. He did that.
I'll tell you when the truth is inappropriate, Jackie, is when you tell us why Abdus isn't here this morning. That's when telling the truth is inappropriate.
That's the truth.
That's not true. I'm here for it, Jackie. I'm here for it.
He's not complaining.
That's right. Rock him to sleep. Rock him to sleep. Brag about it. That's what I like to hear. But no, I mean,
and rant. My rant's over.
Let me disagree with Jackie here for a moment, because I don't think that the lyric is appropriate, but at the same time, rap music is full of inappropriate lyrics. So that it's not unusual for an inappropriate lyric to be spit. But it's further proof that rape culture is very normalized in American society at large, and in Black people's society also. When Bill Cosby was convicted of all those rapes, I had a older female family member of mine who went on this tangent about how all them hoes deserved it. Them hoes knew what they was getting into, this, that, and the third. And I was aghast, to be honest. Like, a lot of people in our community think that like rape is is not a big deal. And the fact that Bill Cosby, as lauded as he was, and I have to say this real quick, like I Spy was a little bit before my generation, but I was very much ensconced in the Cosby Show, right? And it was just the epitome of Black respectability, of what you can achieve if you are educated and you stay married and you have your kids and you can be successful and happy. And at the same time, Bill Cosby, as y'all pointed out, not acknowledging in all of his, little spiel that poverty is not a moral failing, right? And I knew even as a child, like Bill Cosby telling us to pull up our pants doesn't matter because, niggas was getting lynched in suits, right? So Black people not pulling up their pants is obviously not the problem. But Bill Cosby, the fact that there's even still any kind of defense of Bill Cosby at this point, you just take note of who those people are and you deal with them accordingly.
Exactly. Bill Cosby was talking about pull your pants up while he was pulling other women pants down.
Right.
But I'm with y'all on that. I detest rapists with a passion. You know what I mean? And I'm old school, and I would like to see rapists castrated. No type of gray area. You know what I mean? I think that it's criminal. To me, the only thing worse than rape is murder, because of the fact that you're robbing someone of their humanity. You understand what I'm saying? You're taking advantage of people. So, anybody that defends that shit, I don't care about what white people doing. Let's dead that bullshit. Let's stop talking about, well, when white people do it, fuck white people. You understand what I'm saying? And any nigga that roll with them. So if you rape, if you rob, if you perform any criminal act against your people in particular, then I have no love for it. I don't have a concern or care about how much time the white boy got. I'm not here for white boys. You understand what I'm saying? I'm here to represent our people, and our people have to be held accountable for the bullshit. And that's just it. Moving right along to the next story. Where we at?
All right, right on. Jackie, you want to take us to yours?
Yeah, so this is a very small, it's a little short story that was published in Reuters, but it is packed with so much contradictions that we really do have to see how the empire spreads a lot of dangerous misinformation. This is, I was actually surprised at how little there is to this story, but it's very important. The headline, clearly says U.S. calls Xinjiang an open-air prison and decries religious persecution by China. Now, I've been hearing about the so-called religious persecution in China for decades, being in the church all the time. And a lot of people believe this stuff. But it's interesting that all of the people I have met over the years who are from China, they were Christians or Muslims, and they belong to some kind of religion, and they seem to be fine. And they tell me that, there are plenty of churches in China. So that's when I, probably about 7 or 8 years ago, began to realize that whole idea about religious persecution in China, probably not true. So this is what the United States does when it wants to continue to perpetuate these kinds of lies, but also shows its slip on its hypocrisy. Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said in January that China's actions in Xinjiang, which, remember, it's supposed to be this genocide, these concentration camps that Uyghur Muslims are being held in, and forced labor and all of this, constitute crimes against humanity and genocide. The interesting thing is, as much as the Biden administration and the Democrats decried everything the Trump administration did was evil and just straight from the pit of hell, and it's just going to end all democracy as we know it, how come his successor, Mike Pompeo's successor, Anthony Blinken, in Biden's administration, agrees with him? So he's continuing to uphold this lie from the Pompeo State Department about China committing crimes against humanity and genocide. China has always said that they have a Islamist extremist issue on their border near Xinjiang, which is true because there is a separatist faction of Muslims in that region, and it's not because they're Muslims; it's because there is a centuries long border dispute, and this group of people don't want to. They've been fighting with China for quite a while, and they've committed terrorist attacks, literally committed terrorist attacks against China. So China's response, rather than to throw people in concentration camps like the United States does with Guantanamo Bay, China's response has been to do everything it can to give those folks an opportunity to be integrated into society. So they haven't stripped them of their religion. They haven't put them in concentration camps. They've trained them for jobs. They've given them education. They've, they have relocated some people so they're not out in these, far away outposts. So look, and I'm not saying that everything China has done has been great, but China has long said that what they have been doing in the Xinjiang region is countering extremism, which actually has happened. But the U.S. State Department senior official, Daniel Nadell, the State Department have an office of international freedom. That is just insane that there is actually an office in the State Department called the Office of International Freedom in the United States, said that the situation has shifted from the use of what China calls vocational, educational, and training centers, that's actually what they are, to detain ethnic Uyghurs and other Muslims to use use of surveillance to essentially turn the entire region into an open air prison. Why does that sound familiar? So this short little article, and this is all there is to it. That's it. This is it. The State Department official goes on to say that people's movements are closely tracked, and the oppression of Muslims in Xinjiang by China is the culmination of decades of repression of religious adherents. Blinken announced that he's also imposing a visa ban on Chinese officials, specific Chinese officials. But I want to go back to this comment right here, because I find that it is very interesting. And I use that word interesting because I can't think of anything else to say other than incredibly hypocritical bullshit that a United States official can shape their lips to say the words open air prison in regard to a situation in Xinjiang where it actually does not exist, but they cannot use those words to call what is happening in Palestine the exact same thing where it absolutely does exist. And I present this story to you, I think, because it is so timely and a perfect example of the way the United States handles its foreign policy and how the media, the Western corporate media, is absolutely complicit in that, because that hypocrisy, that contradiction was not called out in that story at all.
And sorry, go ahead, Kamal.
Oh no, I was really quickly. I would only add. We're entering this phase where it's always known that the United States needs an official enemy, right? So we've gone through communism, radical Islam, and now China is becoming the new enemy because, again, the United States needs to have its population angry at somebody to justify its military spending. And on the other end, on the foreign policy situation, this is the United States, again, checking to make sure that there are no rivals to U.S. and European domination. And like you said, the American media, corporate media falls right in line when it's told that there is a new enemy afoot all you do is start getting article after article after article that starts to justify how these people are evil, how these people are less than civilized. They don't use that exact language anymore, but that's part of what that story entails. That they have no real justice system, unlike us. And so it's everything that is done to sort of make folks think that these people are now evil, they're enemies, they don't care about anybody except their own power. And all of that to disguise, again, the continual supremacy of European and American capitalism around the world, and to get its own citizens revved up and ready to go to battle anytime the United States says, now we have to go to war to protect our interests against these evildoers.
Absolutely. And meanwhile, you know, this, I mean, exactly. And the point that I was just obviously stepping on you to try to say was, is that, as we see here, there have been rallies in support of Palestinians happening all over the place, from New York to LA, Chicago, just in this country, even in Oklahoma, as Israel continues to bomb, you know, and you know, attack Palestinians, and yet, to Jackie's point, the U.S. Can't even fix its face to acknowledge what it's supporting, and forcing many of us indirectly with our tax dollars to support. So I mean, it's wild for sure. It's scandalous, really.
And really, like, the fact that the United States government and media puts out these pieces, you know, alleging that the Chinese are treating their Muslim population bad. Meanwhile, in America, you know, Muslims have endured very specific state surveillance and scrutiny and terror, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't see a whole lot of examination in mainstream media about that. I mean, in a place where we're supposed to have religious freedom, Muslims specifically were targeted because they were Muslim for the better part of the last 2 decades, right? On some 9/11 bullshit. So I hate it here. I don't do not like it here most of the time.
And you notice how when the media always brings up these you know, articles about China and the evil that they're doing against the Uyghur Muslims, they always bring up the point of surveillance, as if China surveillance is somehow worse or different than the United States surveillance. I mean, New York State has a robot. The NYPD has a robot dog.
Yes.
Okay. That Baltimore just got rid of the spy plane, right? We think, we hope, because they didn't even know that it existed before, you know, when it was exposed. Well, we've got, you know, police departments across the country are partnering with tech companies that use facial recognition to identify people who participate in protests. And by people, I don't mean white people. I don't mean the right wing. I don't mean militia members. I mean Black folks. People who participate in Black Lives Matter protests. I'm sure all the folks who are participating in all of these protests in support of Palestinians, that a lot of them have been identified too. So this idea that the United States media still accuses other countries, the it of the United States, of doing these horrible things, as if this country hasn't already been doing them to us, is just another level of this hypocrisy and the contradictions in this system, especially coming out of an office called the Office of International Democracy.
That's funny right there. And similar to the point you made also, Jackie, it would be difficult for China to do what the United States has done comparatively, specifically to your point about Guantanamo, given that that would require China to have somewhat approximating the 800 military bases around the world, as opposed to, I think it has, I don't know, 1, 2, or 3, or like a handful. I know one, I think, is in Djibouti, maybe China has. but they certainly don't have the military blueprint or footprint around the world to be able to carry out that sort of global imprisonment plan like the United States. By the way, real quick before, because I know Kalonji, you got a story to get to, but I did come across this news source that I know specifically about what's going on in Palestine. Given that I know Kamal will appreciate, given that his favorite white man has co-signed this source, the Palestine Chronicle has been an invaluable source of information. According to Noam Chomsky, and unfortunately, some of that invaluable news is to report, as of this morning, that the number of Palestinians killed in the Gaza Strip has now risen to 83, including 17 children. More than 480 have been wounded just in the last, round of Israeli aggression. So, but anyway, so. Kalonji, I know you had at least one more story for us to get to this morning here at the Remix Morning Show.
No doubt. Yeah. So basically, young man in Tampa, Florida, working at a Dunkin' Donuts, Corey Pujols, I believe he's 27 years old. He's working, trying to do his thing, and customer comes in, elderly white man, 77 years old. And I guess he was unsatisfied or dissatisfied with his service. So he decided to call my man a nigga. So Corey asked him to say it again. And he said it again. And my man clocked him. So he punched him in his face. The old Confederate relic hits the floor, bumps his head on the concrete. They call the ambulance. I guess he was... comatose for a couple of days. He ended up transitioning. He ended up dying. Initially, Corey was charged with battery on an individual over 65 years old, and later on he was charged with something equivalent to murder of a 65-year-old. So he's facing 30 years because of the fact that this man called him a nigga. And like many of us, in a frustrated time period, in a frustrating country, in a frustrating society, it's like, look, you're not just gonna get away. You did all types of shit to our ancestors, so I'm gonna knock your ass out. So he ends up knocking him out, and unfortunately, here it is. My man is thrown his whole life away, pretty much, because of the fact that he's in the state of Florida. And we already know that they're talking about on the surveillance cameras, the white man never touched them, so on and so forth.
Why can't he say he was standing his ground? If they can do it with a gun, why can't he stand his ground with his fist?
I hope that's something that his representation considers. And being charged with aggravated manslaughter, like Kalonji said, it carries a very long sentence. But put yourself in Corey Pujols' shoes, right? Like, how many times in the course of your lifetime have you been called out your name by somebody not of your race? Because first of all, we know that it's not just white people that call black people niggas, okay? I had a similar situation to this, actually. I was with a male friend of mine, and we had a traffic incident with this old white guy. And this old white guy started calling me all kinds of niggas, right? And my friend got out the car, and I had to make him get back in the car. I said, because if you hit him, you're going to kill him. He's going to die. Like, he was an old, decrepit ass white man. He was clearly drunk. And if my friend, who was very young and strapping, if he'd have punched him in the head, this exact situation would have happened. And it's a very delicate line to walk, y'all, because we are in a time now where if white people call us niggas, smack them niggas. You know what I'm saying? Punch them right in the fucking face. Whereas, and the reason we punch them in the face now is because our ancestors couldn't, or if they did, when they did retaliate and fight back, they faced extremely, extremely hard and dire consequences. So I'm generally in support of, if a white person calls you out your name, I don't care if they lay a hand on you, don't touch you, anything. If they call you, or if not just white, but anybody non-black calls you a nigga, smack them in their fucking teeth. Like that's just my take on that. But I'm so heartbroken for this young man in Florida, Corey Pujols, and I hope he has some sort of GoFundMe or something, because that to me is a worthy cause to donate to someone's
Is
legal.
Trump going to show up for this one?
Probably.
We're looking into well, he probably won't because he's not dead. So you know what I'm saying. So you know he's an ambulance chaser. He didn't die, so it's a different program. You know, I was when we was organizing around Troy Davis some years ago. I was down in Savannah and we were doing petitions. And normally I don't get down with the whole petition thing, but we trying to save my man's life. So, you know what I mean? So whatever we needed to do, I was down for it. But we're in Savannah, Georgia, and this old ass white man decides to say to me, we freed the slaves. What else you Negroes want?
Get the fuck out.
So I'm looking around. I don't know my way around Savannah. You understand what I'm saying? But had I known my way around Savannah, he would have definitely got knocked the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? That's without question. But I wanna say to to the viewers, you have to be steadfast and patient and kind of don't be reactionary because of the fact that the deck is stacked. It's definitely stacked, and it's like if you don't have a way out, then don't fuck your life up with these clowns. You know what I'm saying? They'll get theirs eventually. You know what I mean? However, they need to be got. I'm just saying, make sure that if you have to do something, don't do it in public.
Well, listen, just don't be knocking out somebody that's 50 years older than you, okay? like the young man, Corey Pujols, 27, his alleged victim, 77, right? So maybe not smacking elderly people is not the best idea. Maybe tell him go get his son or his grandson. But really
isn't 77 years long enough to be on this planet to know not to threaten somebody?
Ain't no age
I'm saying no. I'm saying, isn't he old enough? If the brother is supposed to be responsible enough to not hurt an old man, I'm not saying he's old enough. He's ready to go. I'm saying, is it Kamal? You jump into conclusions. This is me. Kalanji's on the next square over. I'm saying, I'm just simply asking, why is it the responsibility on this man to not say something and encourage that this man respond? Because a punch, he didn't shoot the man. He didn't hit him with a bat. He didn't stab him with a knife. He punched him with his fist. Now, I know that can lead to where we are now with this story. But on some level, I don't understand why the legal system. Well, I mean, I do. Let me rephrase that. It seems to me a logical response would be, why can't this old man be responsible for his own actions? And he got. I mean, you.
And Jared, but no, you're 100% right about that, because the part of the story is that how this altercation even began was through the drive-through window, right? The old man was a customer. He was unsatisfied with the service he received in the drive-through. He parked his car and went inside to make sure that he was going to let them niggas know at Dunkin' Donuts that he didn't appreciate the level of service that he received. So he walked into it literally. Now he literally could have gotten his car and went and carried his ass on home, right?
Call customer service.
Thank you.
I'll jump in a little bit. I'm not going to do too much legalese stuff, but just a little bit. So I mean, I want to be careful about. I mean, you take your victim as there is. It's like, it's sort of a saying, with the law. So if someone dies because you punch them as opposed to stabbing them, there's not going to be much difference in terms of the consequences. Obviously, there's extenuating circumstances that hopefully his lawyers will apply in this particular case. But also, the idea that that old white man could have been charged with battery, right? In terms of the language he used, what he sort of like brought on him, quote unquote, brought on himself, whatever. So and for me, at least, we got to be careful about distinguishing between what we want folks to act like, even in a good society, as opposed to the racist America that we live in, right? I don't think we necessarily, this is no defense to having that white man getting popped, because anybody and all of us in a situation could react in a certain way. But we also, I don't want to perpetuate a society where we think the response to name calling or whatever is possibly, well, you're going to get yours. Why? And if I do something to you because you called me a name, therefore I have a defense, right? So I think we should walk a balance of like the anger and what we all could respond to in that moment. I know people have called me names, and it's, we're ready to be on, but it doesn't necessarily either legally and or socially justify how we want, again, in a society that has some sense of justice to be treated or acted out in a way.
Yeah, Kamal, I'm glad you're an attorney, and we definitely appreciate that legalese. And as co-host of Renegade Coaching, I say fuck that white man. And in 77 years, if he still calling folks niggas in 2021, I can only imagine what his decrepit ass has done in the last 77 years. So
yeah, basically that, because obviously prior in these 77 previous years to this man's life, no one had ever punched him in the face for calling people niggas, and that's been my experience. When you let them know, smack them in the teeth, punch them in the face, I bet you they won't call somebody else a nigga the next time.
No doubt.
He clearly won't. So, right. But as we come out, I appreciate you legally flattening things out a little bit for us and getting us but I don't know where he is in the moment, because things look pretty dark, and for the ear doctor here too, but let's go ahead and get to him, because I think it's perfectly appropriate that on our next block we'll be talking about MOVE and the Black Liberation Army. But go ahead, ear doctor, what's up, my man? Where are you?
Darkness. Yo, I'm gonna do a artist spotlight like I do, but yeah, man, that's funny, because they had that movie talking about, yo, are you a nigga? They was like, yo, are you a nigga? And if you feel like, yo, I'm a nigga, then you're gonna react towards a certain way. But the thing is, I could be a nigga, I could get ignorant. So I just want to put that out there. But let's get to our artist spotlight.
All right, Remix Morning Show.
What's good, everybody? This is the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and y'all are right here in the right place to be. Right now, I would like to give a artist spotlight to an artist I've known for a while, down with the brew culture, brewfessionals movement. He goes by the name of My Zug. So what I want to do is I want to give a little spotlight to my peoples, and hopefully y'all will enjoy this song I'm about to play for y'all. So let's do it like this.
Been in a walk a couple years, had to go back to the base. Fell off the path in Genesis, before the ship hit the nation. Always been teaching me patience, really been good for my health. Cleaning my mind, I had to change. Taking some better still. I got some brothers who look out for me, keeping them close like an undertee. Got my sons up under me, block out the chatter and mumbling. Your hood said go, I see the green. Stress on my mind, let freedom ring. 3 times a day we gotta sing, sending up praise to share my end. Some of my days be hard. I hit the gas on my engine. Some things that fell apart. Your hood has stated our vision. Hit to assist like I'm pimping. Only do faith, not wisdom. We from the streets where it's gritty. See all the sheep in the trenches. Been in a walk a couple years. Had to go back to the base. Fell off the path in Genesis. Before the ship hit the nation. Always been teaching me patience. Really been good for my health. Cleaning my mind, I had to change. Taking some better still. Our babies be steady crying. Brothers be daily dying. Bruce say they for the people. Action be always lying. I only speak what I see. Separate them from the weed. Repent for my past. Who I be watching me. I'm giving them all of me. This is my testimony. I'm giving them all of me. This is a test. This is my testimony. I'm the best. This is my test. This is my testimony. I'm giving them all of me. All of me.
All right. So as you can see right there, that is My Zug. Go check him out at My Zug on the gram. Now let's get back to my morning crew fam. All right, let's get it.
Yeah. Remix Morning Show, Black Power Media. Welcome back, and thanks to those in the chat for also reminding us to wish a very, very special happy birthday to Stevie Wonder as well. Speaking of artist spotlight and darkness, although I saw what happens, I saw him catch that mic stand. I'm just saying, I saw it. How'd he do that?
Is he really blind? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Stevie's powerful.
I'm gonna let y'all get back to the news. I'm out of here.
Right on. Thanks, here, Doctor. Kalanji, man, I know I teased it before the last break, and I think it's appropriate that you queued up something. Speaking of commemoration and responses to indignation and oppression, you're going to talk a little bit about MOVE and the Black Liberation Army.
Oh yeah, no, it's not just going to be me; it's us. It's a family affair. You know what I'm saying? Put all this work on me this morning. No, I'm joking. Yeah. So today is a very important day. It should be, one of the things that we started doing years ago was having Black holidays and Black commemorations and all that type stuff because of the fact that we need alternatives, not like Kwanzaa, where we saying it's an alternative to Christmas and all this type stuff. I'm talking about we should remember important dates in our history because of the fact that when we're talking about culture, that's one of the beauties of culture is paying homage and honoring those who came before you. So I want to start. We had Pam Africa on the show a couple weeks ago, and we talked about the situation with Pennsylvania University and the museums, how they were housing some of the bodies of the children from MOVE. Today happens to be the 36-year commemoration of the MOVE bombing that took place May 13, 1985 on Osage Avenue in Philadelphia. For those of you who know and don't know, it is a time that we remember that a bomb was dropped on the home of the MOVE family. Now, MOVE is not only a human right organization, it is a pro-life organization. You know what I mean? So they take life very seriously, like we all should. That's one of the beauties of MOVE that we can all learn from. But they lost, I believe there was 13 men, women, and children inside of the home. And there was 2 survivors. Ramona Africa was the only adult survivor, and Bertie Africa was the only child survivor. After they dropped this bomb, which was sanctioned by Mayor Wilson Good, who was a Black man. So those of you who get caught up on that whole Black shit, whereas we just need a Black mayor and a Black president and a Black whatever, you still get a Black eye in the game when you're talking about capitalism and you're talking about imperialism and you're talking about white supremacy. So this particular mayor sanctioned the dropping of this bomb or this incendiary device on his home. And, it killed men, women, children, and animals. And as the house was burning, the people inside made efforts to get out, and the police actually opened fire on them, forcing them back inside the home. So we wanted to definitely keep MOVE in mind, you know what I mean? Because of the fact that they've been through so much, from Mumia to what took place back in 77, 76, 77, 78 with the whole MOVE 9, and then this situation here with the whole MOVE bombing. So we wanted to commemorate that situation. And on the flip side, today also marks the day that the New York 21 was acquitted. Remember, they were being railroaded. We had members of the New York 21 on various shows throughout Black Power Media, from Daruba to Sekou, and I believe a few others. But these brothers and sisters, they put in work and they responded to, to some of these atrocities, shall we say. They responded to police terrorism. And in turn, the police decided to try to railroad them and say that they were trying to blow up gardens and bus terminals and department stores and all this other bullshit, when in fact, it never happened. You know what I mean? So they were framed, and this is the day that they were acquitted back in 1971. So anybody else want to add on to chime in?
No, I just, other than that, I think it's important that we commemorate or not, again, not to commemorate in a positive sense, but to recognize what these dates represent in this protracted struggle. And especially given the more recent news, as you talked about, with well, actually the ongoing news, because it's both the story about the bones of the children of the MOVE victims, but it's also the ongoing political imprisonment of and exile of members of, not specifically necessarily of the New York 21, but certainly the extended BLA and forms of struggle. Related forms of struggle. So, I mean, this is still, anyway, I think it's important to mark these days in the way, at least the way that we are here, as not only a tribute to them, but a reminder of where we actually are and what maybe we should be thinking about doing or directions politically in which we should be considering heading, you know.
Yeah, I applaud the Black Liberation Army. I applaud the Black Panther Party and SNCC, RAM, and all these other organizations who took it upon themselves to fight for our rights in a practical manner. You know what I mean? I applaud Dr. King and SELC. You know what I mean? Because of the fact that during these times, back during the 60s, you know, it was, I mean, man, I mean, it wasn't as fashionable to actually fight, you know, so we definitely keep them in mind. And also MOVE. I mean, you know, the fact that they're still going strong, you know what I mean? There's so many people who just accepted being victims. No longer should we accept being victims. I think that that's one of the things that that must be properly understood. We get so used to marching and responding with rallies and responding with protests and singing the same old songs talking about we ain't gonna take it no more. We have these Negroes that stand up speaking on our behalf, talking about what's right, what's wrong. All that shit's counter-revolutionary. We need to start calling it for what it is. You know what I mean? Some of these clowns is walking around talking this nonsense. If it's counter-revolutionary, we need to say that. If they're not talking about our advancement, they're not talking about our liberation, then it's straight up bullshit. We all like to be entertained and all that, but we can't keep saying that we're at war and we're not responding properly. You know what I mean? What's going on in Palestine can easily be what's going on here in the United States on a major way. You know what I'm saying? And it's all connected. And we must understand that, because of the fact that if you don't understand that, then you actually think you're thinking. And unfortunately, most people around us actually think they're thinking. Yeah. You know what I mean? They come with their ideas and their commentary and all that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't change a damn thing. You know what I'm saying?
I would only add that. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I was going to add that, you know, as we talked about earlier with the international story, like you said, it's very similar here with the domestic enemies, right? So if you step outside of what the U.S. considers, whether it's on a local level or a federal level, and obviously they combine forces, if you do outside what they think is acceptable, in other words, fight for our freedom, our liberation, you immediately become a target. And then there's been times in history, it doesn't matter what form of protest you take. It could be petitioning. It could be as part of our history, writing articles. It could be just being, right? So any form of protest or being Black in America means you're subject to not only police harassment and violence, but if you organize around the issues of trying to get freedom and liberation, they serve up the examples of MOVE and even the Panther 21 trial, which at its time was the longest trial in history in terms of how long these folks were actually on trial, sitting in jail, some of them who couldn't raise bail during that whole period of time, so that they wouldn't be on the street organizing. Instead, the focus of the organizing or energy had to turn to defending these brothers and sisters and keeping them out of jail, right? And so that does a disservice because it doesn't allow you to organize around the issues of concern. But much like the Huey P. Newton trial of earlier years, it was now we have to focus and raise money for bail, for lawyers, to continue some propaganda war and try to turn this into a sort of a net positive. But while that's taking place, you are no longer organizing on the street. You're no longer organizing your people. And the propaganda system is making our folks look like they are criminals for taking actions and or being accused of actions that were in to move us forward as a people in a fight on whatever ground we think is necessary for our liberation. So, these things are similar. Anything that comes, anything that the U.S. protests, because we're essentially when folks say we're at war, that's what that means. It means that if you challenge U.S. hegemony, both either domestically or internationally, there's consequences. And you got to be ready for that fight when you get into that fight, because the U.S. will use, again, by local and or federal standards, anything at its disposal to let you know that it will crush you. And so we have to be ready for that.
No doubt.
Even if you punch one dude at a Dunkin' Donuts.
Amen. What Bunchy Carter say? He said, if you can't do nothing but spit, then motherfucker spit. You understand what I'm saying? We got you have to do something. This fight right here, there are no neutrals in war. We have to be clear about that. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody has to go out and get a gun. It don't mean that everybody has to get physical, but you have to be on the right side of the barricades, because at the end of the day, you have to decide what part of history you're going to play. No longer can you afford to sit on the sideline and just comment on a YouTube video. You understand what I'm saying? You have to do more than that. If you're not going to fight, support the fighters. That's the bottom line. So again, and we have to look at the New York 21 because of the fact that it wasn't just the state by themselves that orchestrated this shit. They had undercovers who were involved in that shit. People like Gene Roberts, may he rest in peace. This is the man who was there, who was helping to infiltrate and cause dissension with the whole El Haj Malik Shabazz situation. He was in the ballroom when Malcolm was assassinated. He also was allegedly one of the founders or founding members of the New York chapter of the Black Panther Party. You understand what I'm saying? So when you talk about leadership, the Panther 21, they weren't even the actual leadership of the New York chapter. You know what I'm saying? They went after the folks who was working the underground, the Darubas, the Sekus, you know what I mean, the Sundiatas, folks like that. But these are brothers and sisters who should be revered. Many of them we know, you know what I'm saying, and we've had the opportunity to work with. But show them love, man, because of the fact that it's lonely in these streets. You understand what I'm saying? It's lonely in these streets because of the fact that you being a freedom fighter is the most misunderstood position you can have, because you'll lose families, you'll lose jobs, careers, the whole nine, because of the fact that you're not willing to compromise your position. You understand what I'm saying? And when you're not willing to compromise your position, your so-called friends will be your enemies. You understand what I'm saying? You'll be confused. And it's like, it's a difficult, hard road. So please pay homage to MOVE, pay homage to the Black Panther Party, all our elders and ancestors, some of these freedom fighters that exist today, because there are some true folks out here today. There's some that's out here on some straight bullshit. And that's why we appear to be so angry at times, because of the fact that when you've been around folks who work for real, and you're around, then you come around folks who pretend to be the people that they have no idea about, then it's a hellified world to live in. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So
absolutely. Jackie, I'm sorry. Were you trying to jump in there?
I just wanted to say real quick that I always like to remember what John Africa was advocating for with MOVE. And it's important to understand this. I always like to not just remember that the MOVE family was terrorized and murdered and massacred by Philly PD, but what they were doing, they were advocating, clean living, raw living, eating raw foods, advocating caring for the earth, caring for all life. They were animal advocates. They were advocates of, human rights. And so, they were advocating, self-sufficiency, creating gardens and that kind of thing, growing your own food, organic living. So I think it's important to focus on that because I see what's going on now in this new part of the movement where we get caught up on what folks do and don't do, what folks believe and don't believe, and how they live their personal lives and whether we're going to rock with them or not. But understand, Philly PD and the system didn't go after Move because they were raw food advocates, because they were vegans, no, they went after them because they were a threat to the system of control, and they were trying to wake Black folks up around them to that system of control. So to the system, they don't care what you eat. They don't care what your belief is. They don't care what your religion is. They don't care what music you listen to. If you're Black and you're rocking for your people and you're willing to be in solidarity with other oppressed folks who are rocking for their people, challenging this system, then they will come after you. And there's nothing about your lifestyle that's going to save you from their attacks. So I feel like Move is one of those perfect examples where we have to keep in mind that we're all in this together, regardless of what our personal ideological beliefs about how we live our lives on a personal level are. The system hates us because we're a threat to them, because we want to destroy the system. That's it.
That's right.
Right on. So as we get ready for the ear doctor to come on up, we want to thank Exodus Life Change for becoming, as we commemorate sort of an existing and older wing of the struggle. We want to invite Exodus Life Change or welcome Exodus Life Change as a new member to this wing of the struggle here at Black Power Media, and of course invite others to do the same. But again, Kalonji, everybody, I just appreciate that we wanted to raise that up this morning, that wing of the history for all else that will be discussed today and around the corner. I think it's always good to be reminded of that for sure. So anyway, right on. Is the ear doctor in I don't know where he is, but let's welcome him back on up here. It looks like he is fully ablaze. Welcome back, ear doctor.
What's good?
He's fully ablaze and fully muted.
Yeah, I'm back on the Sunday set. I'm gonna play a little music for y'all for a little break, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna get into some more of that. What we do, you know what it is. Let's get it.
All right, let's go. Remix Morning Show.
a fatal killing them on the track.
Again, thank y'all all for tuning in, and make sure y'all support this movement by going to patreon.com and going to Black Power Media and dropping a little something to make sure this movement continues to go, because like I said, without y'all it would be no us. Big up to all the new members, and please make sure y'all continue to tell a friend to be a new member. We got a lot of different material that's coming on these Patreon and different platforms for our members, for our Patreons. We got a lot more coming, so please make sure y'all do that. And yo, let's get back to the morning show. That's how we go.
That's funky right there.
Hey, welcome Trisha Becker as a brand new member. Thank you, Trisha. More fire. Oh man!
Wow, he's showing off now.
He's showing off.
We're going to dance hall.
You gotta
Like
get
y'all
it.
gonna love me now.
Word. I catch y'all next break. Peace.
Right on. Thanks here, Doctor. Bring that funk right here to the Remix Morning Show. Black Power Media. Welcome back, everybody. Hit that like button, that share button. Invite a friend or foe. Let them know what's going on. Get in the building. Kamal.
Yep. What up?
What's going on, my man? I think you got something special for us lined up. What's happening next?
Yeah, we want to talk a little bit about mental health issues in the Black community, particularly geared towards alternative ways to look at them with some organizers and activists I've been working with for a little while. And so it's going to be an interesting discussion. I think it's one of like several we should have. And I think it's a little bit outside the box. So I think it'll be interesting for us.
Right on. Well, let's get into it right here again at the Remix Morning Show. Kamal Franklin in the building.
What up?
What's up, brother?
How you feeling? You good?
I'm good, man. How about you, man?
I'm doing good. Marte, you there? You got to take that mute off, son. You got to take that mute off.
I didn't. Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah. All right. What's up?
Good. How y'all doing? Y'all good?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, you know, I'm still hurting from that, that ass whooping you put on me. You know what I'm saying, in spades, but I ain't gonna hold that against you, bro.
So I wasn't gonna bring that up until the end.
No, it's cool, bro.
I'm glad we get that out the way early.
It's all love, bro. It's all love. You know what I mean? It's all love.
So I want to thank y'all for joining me today, or joining us today on RemiX. I wanted to bring up actually a real serious topic around issues of mental health in the Black community. Organizers and activists, even obviously the larger community and how we deal with them. So I want to do a little setup in terms of a quick background information, and I'm going to read off your bio so people can know who you are and the work that you do. And so I just pulled this little tidbit from the Columbia University Department of Psychology. And it basically states that Black folks, we represent 12% of the population. I think something everybody knows within the United States. But yet we comprise approximately 40% of the homeless population, 50% of the prison population, and 45% of the children in foster care. And research shows that exposure to violence, incarceration, and involvement in the foster care system increases the chances of developing mental illness. And then further, it just says that the Black community in particular is at significant risk or increased risk of development of mental illness issues due to sort of the historical, economic, social, political influences that systematically expose our community to these issues that have a larger effect on sort of damaging psychologically and our physical health. And so that's a long-winded way at the end of saying how white supremacy impacts us both physically and psychologically in terms, and I'm sorry, there's a big truck moving by my house, both psychologically and physically in terms of our representation here in this country. So with us to talk about these issues today is Marte White, who is a Black trans femme, Marxist, Leninist, Maoist, activist, and writer. He's written for several different journals, and he has a YouTube channel called The Black Internationalist, which is an online space for communists struggling around mental illness, and it's named after the Socialist Patients Collective. Further, we have Curtis Duncan, who's also an activist and organizer, a holistic health researcher, social critic, and mental health advocate. And Curtis has spent over 2 decades conducting independent research on diet, nutrition, obesity, medical apartheid, mental illness, disease, and the dangers of, I'm hoping I'm going to say this right, allopathic medicine. And is that correct?
Yeah, you got it, bro.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad with that. And both of these folks have been members and are members of Community Movement Builders, the organization that we have together. So again, thank you guys, and I appreciate you letting me do that sort of long with an intro. How are y'all doing?
Doing all good.
Good. So just to start off, Curtis, you had mentioned individually, I think you both have talked about, but I'll start with you, Curtis, and come back to you, Marte, that you guys have experienced your own issues or battles around mental health, which in some way have led you to, and you know, to even go down this path of trying to find alternative treatments. So can you talk a little bit about what led you down this path and why it's so important to have, to think outside the box, I guess, let's say, when it comes to treatments around mental health issues?
Yeah, so I mean, thank you again. It's an honor to be on the show with you and the rest of the RemiX Morning Show family. So yeah, my background, essentially, as a child, I dealt with I was quote unquote diagnosed, I think, with attention deficit disorder. So most of my life I've dealt with a lot of anxiety, just general anxiety about a lot of different things. And I think later on in life, like around my late 20s, I developed OCD, which is known as obsessive compulsive disorder. And it was really bad. It was severe. And it was, pertaining to sexual orientation, which, I don't get too deep into that, but you can have OCD about anything. Most people, when they think of OCD, they think of, having needing to put things into a certain place or being kind of really compulsive about washing your hands. But you can have all different types of OCD about, sexuality, about, religion, about, even certain types of taboos, even certain types of taboo OCD, such as being a pedophile. You can have OCD about a myriad of topics. And it's all directly linked to trauma. In my case, I suffered a lot of childhood trauma. I grew up in an all-white community. It's actually like a sundown community right outside Philadelphia. So I have dealt with a lot of race-based trauma in my life. And just a lot of trauma throughout, my being a Black man in America. I dealt with it. I kind of discovered was dealing with a really severe mental illness, in my late 20s, but I didn't get the help because I felt ashamed. I felt, particularly when it comes to issues of sexuality, there's a lot of, of course, we live in a very homophobic society. So, you just feel like, oh, something wrong with me. And you just kind of avoid kind of dealing with it. And of course, because of the history of medical apartheid and the abuse that a lot of people of African descent have experienced in this country by psychiatry, by doctors, you kind of worry about going to a therapist, and oftentimes you maybe lack the resources to go to a therapist. So I guess for me, it kind of started me upon a journey just to kind of understand mental illness, to understand childhood trauma, understand addiction, things that, I kind of maybe, wasn't really well versed in. And, oftentimes it's very stigmatized. So, that was, and, dealing with this now for almost about 10 years. And, I've gained a lot of insight into it, but I could say definitely living within this white supremacist, patriarchal, heterosexist, environment that we live in has definitely destroyed the mental health of a lot of our people. Even if the people don't experience mass incarceration and, being in solitary confinement and police harassment, just living within this very hierarchical environment that we live in, it has definitely, I feel like, done a number on our mental health. And oftentimes, because of what we experienced, we kind of, rightfully so, avoid oftentimes getting the help we need, and the help we need oftentimes is not there and just unavailable.
And so, Mark, let me go to you too. You listed in your bio, trans femme, and obviously your politics, right? You have very strong left politics. Those are two things which can be isolating in the general society and community, and within the Black community, to be so far left, for your sexual identity to be sort of obvious to people that it's not sort of traditional the way folks think about it. And so talk a little bit about your struggles, what you feel comfortable with, and what led you to start trying to help support other folks.
So kind of interesting for me is that like a lot of my focus on the issue of of mental health has come from a political place. As a Marxist, I've always understood social being to determine someone's consciousness, right? So it's like the mental conditions of people, right? A lot of that is determined by things that are going on in society at whole. So as far as my personal experience goes, I, like Curtis, have grown up in a mostly white community, so that trauma from white supremacy is definitely there. The kids can be, especially down south, kids can be super racist, and it's that stuff is very, very isolating. And then on top of that, when it comes to gender identity and sexuality, it's led me to situations where I've experienced sexual trauma. I've experienced, all sorts of issues within family, things like that. All sorts of things that have kind of contributed to the issues that I have to deal with. Now, for me, the mental issue that's kind of afflicted me the most or caused the most problems is depression. Got diagnosed with major depressive disorder when I was 16 or 17. But I'm pretty sure I was living with it for years before that. And I've lived with it for years after that. In 2020, it got to the point where I ended up having to be hospitalized for a time. And during that time, I really got that visceral interaction with the mental health system as it exists in America, and basically had to kind of experience it in the concrete, have that empirical understanding of what it's like to be in a mental hospital for an extended period of time. And it was hard. In fact, I would even say that experience was traumatic in a way. And so it all kind of worked together to make me think that, it'd be good to apply a materialist analysis to the mental health system that exists in the United States, and try to understand what its function is, just as Fanon did, or a lot of other Marxist thinkers before him. So yeah, that's pretty much my
so briefly, do me a favor, briefly, and then I'm gonna go back to Curtis. So I want you to briefly talk a little bit about what you guys think about, or what y'all think about in terms of the system of mental health care in America. Because again, when we talk about our community, everybody has these sort of anecdotal stories around, how we as a community sort of stay away from mental health services because how we look at it, at least in the past, particularly, older Black males like, myself, is like, I don't do all that mental health thing. I like ain't nothing wrong with me. I never go see nobody about nothing. I just, rub something on, or take a drink, whatever it is. Right.
Yeah.
But on the alternative, people also feel like if you do get involved in some of the ways in which the mental health system works, and even the sort of the medical system works, it's over prescriptions, right? And I'm not saying medicine can't be helpful, but sometimes it's an over prescription. So again, we'll start with Monte this time. Can you talk a little bit about your feelings about how the medical system works, particularly around mental health issues? And then we'll go to Curtis for a response to that also.
Right. So I think that the American mental health system, it's just like a multi-level problem, right? Because we do have the problem, especially in the Black community, with people not considering like mental health problems to be real, or not wanting to, engage with the mental health system at all in order to try to deal with those problems. But on top of that, the actual system that we have is not there are a lot of problems with it. Part of it is that in many ways it can function sort of like prison, right? Like if somebody ends up, having some kind of mental health crisis, you can end up being put in a hospital where you kind of, you can't leave at your own will. A lot of times police come to take you there, and oftentimes that doesn't go well. There are a lot of these police killings of Black people that started that way, with a mental health crisis. And then on top of that, you do have the problem of overprescription, the reliance on pharmaceutical medications in order to, maintain a specific mental state within people. And then there's the larger question, I think the Marxist question of what is the function of the system as it exists in capitalist society today. People's minds work in all sorts of different ways. Sometimes what's considered, like, for example, like I have ADHD, and Curtis said that he has ADD, right? People's brains work in different ways. Like just because someone has or it's neurodivergent, is the term that's often used, a brain that doesn't, necessarily work with, let's say, a school environment or specific types of work environments, in the way that people might want, does not necessarily mean that there's something wrong with them, right? It might just be that the system that exists today is structured in a specific way that's incompatible with that specific type of brain. Yet, people are putting medications and the like to kind of push their mind into a position in which they can't function within the system. And I think we have to raise the question of whether that's really right.
And Curtis, why don't you jump in now?
Yeah, no, Marte, excellent response. I definitely agree with much of what he said. I think the system is woefully inadequate, as many systems are, in society. I do agree that the system often, the mental healthcare system. You have the problem of people, as you mentioned, not getting the care, but again, that's due to the abuse that we experience at the hands of psychiatrists and psychologists. It's only maybe about 2% of mental health care professionals are Black. Out of a population, Blacks represent about maybe 13% of the population. So only 2%, are Black. So you have that aspect of just total domination by whites, oftentimes by racist whites who have ideas about Black people. And their mental states and their traumas, and that being a problem that requires police intervention or pharmaceutical intervention, when oftentimes just, hey, I just witnessed my friend get shot in the head, or I just witnessed a police genocide. It becomes a way that you stigmatize and marginalize Black folks. But also you have the situation where Black people who are in pain, like myself and Mark, and as Marte mentioned, and other people who may suffer from different traumas, it's like we're not taken seriously. So we're not given the meds that we need. So you do have situations where, the system is a form of social control, and foster care children are given these drugs to kind of make them behave better and things of that nature. But sometimes, like when Black men and women have depression, they're not given the attention that they need. And oftentimes there is over-reliance on the medications, and there is a denial of other ways that you can improve your mental health. So like some of the more traditional African indigenous practices, such as, it's kind of the new age stuff now, but psilocybin mushrooms, that's banned. A lot of medical marijuana banned. Ayahuasca and some of these other psychedelics, which are proven now to be very beneficial. I think there was a recent study that came out about MDMA, which was used for people with PTSD, was found to be very beneficial, according to some studies that the FDA is reviewing. So you have the monopolization, where it's like a lot of the big pharmaceutical companies, they don't want people on some of these more alternative modalities that can be just as beneficial as some of the more traditional psychiatric and pharmaceutical interventions that are very much in line with indigenous and African practices that have been used for thousands of years. So you have that aspect of the profiteering, that, hey, we're just going to ban everything that could kind of challenge our market share, and just get everyone on some of these more really dangerous medications, interventions, which oftentimes can be helpful, but do have side effects and can cause harm. So overall, the system is very inadequate. It's based in capitalism, so everything capitalism is about making money. So.
And Marta, I wanted you to talk a little bit about the online space, the Black Internationalists on Communist Struggling, named after the Socialist Patients Collective to help support folks with mental illness.
All right, so the Black Internationalist is my YouTube channel, but the Socialist Patients Collective is a server that I have where I basically just have a whole community of different communists that are struggling with mental health issues. We just kind of get together and talk about our issues, and we talk politics a lot too. Like a lot of it is just kind of being in the same space as each other and the benefit of that connection with other people. And that's the main benefit of it, being able to kind of socializing socialists, you know what I'm saying, and talk politics and talk about our issues, whether that is venting, whether that's talking about medication, whether that's talking about different types of treatment that we're getting, et cetera, et cetera. And even at the highest point that it gets is the discussion of of mental health and the mental health systems in our respective countries through the lens of our politics. And when it gets to that, I think that's when our discussions are at their highest point, because it really helps us, turn a critical eye towards how this whole mental health situation works within the confines of capitalism. So yeah, it's been a helpful space to me. I hope it's been helpful for the other people that have been there. But yeah.
Okay. So I want to thank you guys for coming on. I know it was short. We only have 20 minutes to do this, but I definitely want to have y'all back again and talk more about this issue and have some other folks on, because this is obviously like a really important conversation within our community, not only receiving help with sort of mental health issues, but also the right kind of help, right? So it's not even about just anything we'll do. It's like what fits our needs, what fits our particular situations. So thank y'all guys so much. Curtis, I'll beat you again at Spades. Marta, you should learn Spades. I can beat you. I don't know if you do know, you know what I'm saying? I'm just letting y'all know. So
I think I played it before. Yeah.
Not with me though. Not with me.
No, yeah. All right.
Nah, son.
Thank y'all so much.
Thanks.
Yeah, that was dope.
I consider those folks brave to, just to come on and talk through the issues that they've had and their ability to sort of seek, again, treatment and alternative treatment to help support, to talk about the larger issue within the context of white supremacy, growing up, struggling with identities and so forth. And what happens when we as a people are forced to rely on a system that doesn't take our issues seriously. And because they don't take our issues seriously, we just become fodder for filling up their institutions and for directly killing us. So I think, I think the advice and the work that they do is really important to expose. And so, yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, definitely brave of them, because we're still struggling with this stigma of mental illness and needing treatment and going to therapy. I always tell people therapy has helped me immensely in the past 5 to 7 years, deal with a lot of childhood trauma and just the stress of living in this society and doing the work that we do. So I think if we're more open about our struggles, it gives people a lot more freedom to admit that they struggle too, and to seek the kind of help that we all need.
Right on.
I just be so concerned about people when they disclose, the mental crises that they're going through, that it's an opportunity for those challenges to be used against them. I think about the young brother in Philadelphia who was shot and killed last year because he was having a mental health. I mean, there's a long list of people who have been killed while having mental health issues, and it's oftentimes the way that it's presented, or the way that it's framed, as if, oh, well, this person was having a mental health crisis, or they had a history of depression or anxiety or whatever. And it's almost used as a justification, right? Like, oh, well, they must have been just lunching, or they just was acting crazy, so that's why the cops killed them. So it is extremely brave for people to disclose what they're going through. Me personally, I am very reluctant to go get mental health intervention, even though I wholly believe that I could benefit from it, just because of the stigmas, right? Just because of what I sort of assume, like the long list of potential disorders that I may have could be used against me, either in my healthcare going forward, or if I have any sort of negative interaction with law enforcement. Like, that's the reason they're going to use to shoot me. You know what I'm saying?
Well, listen, go ahead, Kalanji. Sorry about that.
No, I was just going to say, if you're Black in America, you definitely have mental health issues. And if you don't, then something's damn sure wrong with you.
And unfortunately, as I think we're about to see here, before we come back and wrap up, there's a sort of a diaspora version of this in terms of the traumas experienced by African people that we're going to get a quick wrap up from, because the Remix Morning Show is never done. All the way up to packed chock full to the end. So we're going to come back in just a minute after we check in with our African Esquire, who filed this latest report for us. So don't go anywhere. Remix Morning Show, Black Power Media will be back in just a second after this report from African Esquire.
Family, this is Tierney Cherie from the African Esquire TV YouTube channel, coming to you with your weekly Pan-African mashup. We have a number of stories that we're going to discuss, so let's just jump right into the first one. News came out last week that Liddell Lee, an African man who was convicted of killing a white woman, was actually not guilty. And this is something that happens all the time. Unfortunately, our people, many times, by the time we know, they're already dead. So he was convicted of killing this woman, and 4 years ago he was executed. But the United States, or the state of Arkansas rather, did not opt to actually test the murder weapon prior to executing this man. Keep in mind, DNA evidence has been out for a while, yet they felt like they could take this man's life without even bothering to test the murder weapon. Something that also should be noted is that they rushed his execution. That's what's being reported from people on the ground. This is another indictment, of course, against the prison industrial complex. Many Africans have lost their lives, many who are innocent, many who have committed things that had they been white, they would not have been killed. But this is a reminder to us why this system has to be dismantled. And until we do so, our people will continue to fall victim to this horrible system and its atrocious acts against African people. Speaking of atrocious acts, the Israeli government has been very much guilty of numerous human rights atrocities, not even just violations, atrocities. This is something that has been the case, obviously, for a very long time, but this week it has reached a very new low. Even during Ramadan, the Israeli forces are going after Muslim worshipers while they worship. Now, this is something that is not getting condemnation from the United States government because we know the United States is footing the bill essentially on these things. I would argue that if you consider the fact that the United States does not issue aid without expecting adherence to their rule, that these acts are not just being done separate from the politicians in Washington, but it's being done with their consent and possibly being done under their direction. Unfortunately, Palestinians are not given the same deference. Their lives are not counted as worthy. Essentially, you have to be Israeli for your life to count. And so while the government continues to report on things that Palestinians have done as in revolt to these circumstances, the Israeli government basically goes around scotch clean without having any consequences for their actions. The thing that I noted from the story is just how brazenly unapologetic the Israeli government is doing these things. They're doing it in front of the world, and they know they have faced no consequences because all they have to do is tell someone that, hey, you're being anti-Semitic by even questioning why we would kill these poor Palestinians. Unfortunately, this is what has continued to be the case, but hopefully the Palestinian voices who have risen up and have been able to get more public sympathy will be able to galvanize enough to organize a real concerted effort to defund the Israeli regime. And hopefully our tax dollars will stop going towards these atrocious acts being done in the name of United States freedom, as they call it. In a sudden reversal of policy, Washington has decided to waive COVID-19 vaccine patents to developing countries, allowing them to possibly be able to produce COVID-19 vaccines on their own. Now, this is, of course, is being marketed as the United States being a humanitarian nation that really cares about the world. But keep in mind, this proposal was first put out there by South Africa and India back in October. And back then, whenever the United States at the time had COVID horribly unleashed inside of its own borders, they took this stance that they would rather prioritize pharmaceutical companies who want to keep the patents for themselves to make a rich profit off of the vaccines. They decided they were going to prioritize them over their own citizens, really, because we know how COVID-19 spreads at this point. If anyone is not safe, then there's no border that's going to cut it off. Fortunately, though, this has been reversed, and a lot of people are jeering and proud and happy for America. But let's keep in mind, the only reason that this is being changed at this particular time is because of what's happening, particularly in India, but also in Latin America, is that although the United States is slowly making recovery from the COVID-19 outbreak or pandemic, other countries are threatening the United States, particularly their economy, by the fact that the disease has just gotten worse and worse and worse. So let's not think that this is something that's being done for the good hearts of Joe Biden or whatever, but let's understand that this is something that's very calculated and meant to prevent further catastrophe happening to the United States economy. In Nigeria, the military has backed Muhammadu Buhari. We know Buhari is an African puppet for Western imperialist interests. Just recently, we reported that he invited AFRICOM to come in and do more damage to the African people. Well, the people of Nigeria, aside from AFRICOM, they're actually not happy with him. A lot of things are happening in the country that are leading to instability and scarcity also. I want to note, though, that a lot of the backlash against the people is coming from civil societies that have not articulated a vision of what they see for Nigeria, something that is unique, something that's going to reverse the situation. Instead, they're more so focused on ridding themselves of Buhari. We should also be conscious of the fact that these civil society groups sometimes don't have agendas because they're being sponsored by people who don't want to see true revolutionary action happening inside of African countries. So I would just challenge that we be more, show more scrutiny of certain groups, not necessarily saying that they're co-opted, but also challenging them. Imagine more. Don't just focus on pushing your corrupt puppet politician out, because if you understand how colonialism works, they're more than happy to replace your puppet politician with someone who's even more corrupt and more of a puppet and loves the West even more. Over in Latin America, Africans are facing horrible police atrocities there, as they are everywhere. Inside of Rio de Janeiro, there was 25 people. Actually, I believe it's 28, but when I first reported this, it was 25 people who were killed by the police. A lot of these people are reported to have had nothing to do with the crimes that were being committed or some type of drug raid or something like that. A lot of them were not involved. This is what happens, obviously, when you're living inside of militarized territory by the police. Now, also inside of Colombia, there are anti-government protests against the police brutality that's being done. There was a recent killing of protesters that happened with 15 people being killed. We should keep in mind that both Brazil and Colombia, these are significant African populations, and these are ones that are trying to be extinguished by right-wing white supremacist governments. And these are people who need our support the same way that we needed theirs. I challenge everyone facing police brutality to understand that this is not a domestic issue. This is an international issue. And the more that we push it as being such, not something that's particular to your territory, but something that's global, the more that we'll actually see these imperialist powers start getting nervous, because that means that we're actually questioning their global hegemony. That's all I have for this week. If you wish to see the full stories, you can catch them on my channel. But until then, I will see you all next week.
Right on. Big thanks to the African Esquire, Tierney Cherie, for that report. We look forward to her next drop for next week here at the Remix Morning Show. Great job, everybody. Another morning knocked out at this boom bap breakfast.
No doubt.
Did a lot of work this morning. Good job, everybody.
Yeah, so that time to go. It's the last day of the week.
Maybe we should extend the Friday.
Our week.
Now I'm going to miss everybody.
Kim,
I know.
think you're muted.
We should just get on the Zoom and just chop it up just because.
I'm good with y'all 3 days a week.
Oh, what? Kalonji.
Not y'all, not the Luke Mons. Y'all cool. But the rest of y'all.
Hey, I will say this.
Bill Froggy, jump. Jump, Kalonji. Go ahead, jump.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
Hold on, Cletus.
I mean, I'm saying you just saying you cool with the Luke Mons, and you just gave everybody else the skin eye.
I thought you already knew. Kim Brown, we in this. We in this together. You know what I'm saying? It's us against them. Even though you beige, it's
got a
cool.
remix beef already. It only took a
No
month.
permanent friends, no permanent enemies.
Who is them?
Hey.
Names.
How that song go? No new friends, no new friends. Anyway, it's all good.
For anybody, for those who do need their fix, I will be back tomorrow morning with my man Kaba Akandunde. Will be rocking with me in the morning.
Okay.
And we're going to be doing a nice long discussion with Barrett Brown, who I don't know if people are aware of as I'm calling him the digital John Brown, politically imprisoned for his work on exposing the state's involvement in our digital media environment, and got a lot of new stuff to share as well.
Yes.
So we're going to be rocking with him tomorrow morning to start off Dope Fridays, where we got Luke Mon Nation and Last Dope Intellectual.
Yeah. We're going to be digging into the history of the creation of the state of Israel so people can understand just how that shady deal went down And it wasn't because God told them to either. So
and then next week is Malcolm's birthday, as well as a bunch of other folks' birthdays. So I know we're going to be doing some special stuff around that. So people should really tune in next week to see us sort of go in.
We have a very special guest.
Yes,
as well.
Wonderful.
You know what I mean? So be advised. Look out for that. The Renegade Culture Show. It's going to be hot tomorrow. Take a look at it. You know what I mean?
He paused on that. He paused on that.
I was like,
I believe
big reveal
for a minute.
We're like, who are we having on again?
And then Kim, burn it down. Is it coming back Friday? You got a Friday edition for it? And what's happening?
Yes, we have a Friday edition. Sometimes, like I said, if we don't have guests, it's a solo sesh day. And that's usually when I roll up. But I have my homeboy got me some really crucial gummies. Like these joints have been swimming in THC for like a month. So I think I'm gonna drop one at the start of the show, and we'll see where we at about 30 minutes into the show.
Oh Lord.
Party over at Kim's show.
Party at Kim's show.
That's how we do it. Hey, real quick, y'all. Eid Mubarak to all of our Muslim brothers and sisters celebrating the end of Ramadan. And I wanted to give a quick birthday shout out to Tori Brown, the angry sociologist on Twitter at Sankofa Brown. It is his birthday today. So happy birthday to the angry sociologist. Happy birthday.
No doubt.
And Saturday, don't forget Waters of Healing for the brothers as well.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And
sound like it's going down.
Stevie Wonder.
Yeah. Happy birthday to Stevie, no doubt.
Listen.
Hey, man. It's always
the ear doctor. We didn't forget you, man. Sundays, 8:00.
You see how he snuck that in? I like that.
Yeah, he just covered the whole thing.
He didn't sneak it in. He blasted.
It's cool.
Hey,
cool.
Anyway, look, good people. We appreciate you joining us for this Boom Bap Breakfast right here at the Remix Morning Show, Black Power Media. Like Fred used to say to you, we say peace only if you're willing to fight for it. So catch everybody next week on the Remix and all day, every day here at Black Power Media. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Peace, everybody.
See y'all. Bye-bye.
Rap.